some of these slides or some of the information I took from the internet source or maybe from my previous SRSI presentations. So this is for just like study purpose. So I'm giving this talk on research report writing. Let's start. Initially, as we discussed, it's important to know why we are writing a research report. Who can write the research report? So particularly when you are doing any literature work, we cannot write a research report based on the literature work. There we can write a review. Okay, so whatever work we will be doing, or without doing any actual experiment, we can write a research proposal. That's a different thing. That is a future tense, that I will be doing that particular work. So research report mostly contain the information based on the fact and the data on which you have worked in the laboratory, or even if it's a theoretical project, you have put some effort, you have used computational chemistry or some experimental setup to come up to that conclusion. So that research report summarize most of the data in a particular format. Okay, so if done well, if you write this research report well, your scientific language is good. Most of this research report content, so its sections, introduction and all, may be included into your final paper. Okay, so you don't need to spend a lot of time at the end of your project in writing your manuscript or final paper. If you are good in writing your research reports, or if you can combine everything together, you will be having enough data for writing your final paper at the end. Therefore, report writing is very, very important. Apart from that, why it is important to write a research report? Because when you are doing internship, you might not be doing start to end project. You might be working on very small object of that project. You will be contributing little for that project. That's how you will see there are a number of authors in the papers. So you will finish your part and then you will go somewhere, or maybe somebody will take over that project and they will do the next part. So for them, it's also very important to know exactly what kind of work you have done previously, so they can repeat or they can start with that work for the next idea or getting more results. That's a 1 AM. And second, based on this research report, then it will be easy for the next person to write a summary of your overall work, depending upon how many people have contributed. But based on their contribution, they can write the final patent or final paper or something like that. Same thing happened in industry also. So in industry also, if you go, once you change your job after even your masters and all, you need to give brief presentation or maybe give report about whatever work you have done. So then it will be easy for the next person to take over that particular work and carry the next reaction. So particularly as a BSc student, it offers an opportunity to understand the technical organization of the document. As you have seen already, the papers, actual research publication, how it looks like. So it is almost having similar setup of your research report. If you are good in writing report, it will give you initial training for writing your research article. And using technology means not only your writing skills, but how to use a technology. You might have done MS Office, you already knowing like PowerPoint, Word, Excel and all. And along with that, there will be some scientific software like CameDraw, ISISDraw, or maybe there might be some other softwares for drawing particularly graphs and all. So this will give you opportunity to present your data in a logical way, in the form of tables, in the form of graphs, in the form of images. So that's also very important. So that you will learn also when you are making your research report, because on your daily experiment, you are doing a reaction, you are getting a result, or you are doing some experiment, you are getting a result. But when you write it, then you will put all this data in a logical format. Okay, and that will useful to understand how you are exactly doing and what are your results and so on in a logical way. So students should use appropriate technical language in this report. As I said, how you can improve your language, not English language here in this. English is also integral part, but at the same time, scientific language, by having a practice of writing articles, by daily writing your scientific diary or something like that. So this is also one of the options. Once you are habitual for writing the reports, as soon as you finish your project one, if you can write the project one report or monthly report or weekly report, or maybe even like annual report. So that will improve your technical writing skill, particularly for as a like chemist writer. So that will give an idea exactly how you should write, what should be the formatting and so on. And what is the actual thing you need to like mention in that particular report, what might be the confusion and so on. And give your references in one of the standard style format. That's also very important. References we have not discussed so far. This is the last part, but it's also important part that also we will cover in this discussion. And now for research report, what kind of audience you should expect? Because when you are writing a book, we are expecting that this book will go to any person, not chemistry book. I'm talking about the general book. It will go to the person who is expert in engineering, who is a doctor, or might be engineer, or who is not working at all or sitting at home. So we are writing the books in such a language that it should be readable by all the audience, normal story books and all. But when you are writing a chemistry book, it should be in such a way that at least a person who knows basics of chemistry, something like that, he should be able to understand it. But when you are writing a research report, you should imagine a very specific audience who are expert in that area, starting from your supervisor up to the next person who will take over that project, and also the audience, scientific audience, who will be reading your research paper at the end. So imagine them when you are writing your report. Okay. So the report should begin by presenting a background information in the field. You should not directly start with what experiment you started in your lab, because mostly when you enter in any research laboratory, they will be assigning you some work and then you will start those experiments. But if you start mentioning that I have started so and so reaction and then I got this result, so people will not able to understand why you started that. What was the background? Even for next person, it might be difficult. So even for a 1 month report, 1 week report, or monthly report or annual report, always include introduction or background information. That's very, very important. And then start with your actual work and so on. And here students may address a specific methodology they will be using. Instead of mentioning hypothetical that I will be using this and this method, or maybe right now I've done this experiment, in future my plan is this and that. So here research report is based on your actual work. So always mention what kind of methodologies you have used and what was your observation. However, it is unlikely at this stage of the program that this will be clear for them. Okay, because most of the time when you join an internship, you may not get a full picture of that project. You are contributing for a small part of that particular project somewhere. So maybe it may be not easy for you to understand what might be the final conclusion of that project. You know the background, you know the initial introduction, you know the whatever contribution you have or your previous colleagues have, but where this project will end, that we may not predict. But however, you have to stop with your conclusion. What was your actual contribution in that project and what kind of results you got? And based on that, you can also suggest future studies and something at the end. So general organization of a research report, as you have already seen 2 examples. One is from publication and second is from actual research report. Now this is the same template for most of the research reports you can imagine. So always there should be title, okay? And along with title, I also prefer most of the time index if required. So most of the time you may not see an index, but if it's very big report, it's always good idea to include an index. Apart from that, abstract. And if you are well aware with the chemical softwares like ChemDraw, or maybe you know exactly how to draw a graphical abstract, then it is a good idea to also put a graphical abstract for your own project. Then the next important point is introduction. After introduction, result and discussion, or methods and discussion, or methods and methodology. So this word may twist here and there, but their sequence or the data which is required will remain same, or experimental section data may come in the methods and so on. So we'll see in details like how to write those sections. And then conclusion. So once you write this part, what is your overall conclusion based on your actual experience and discussion? Then after conclusion, sometimes acknowledgement is also important when you are working for some project. So before literature citation and so on, you can put acknowledgement if it is required. If you're working in collaboration with some other group, or if somebody is helping you, so you can acknowledge them for doing that analysis, for helping them and so on. If they have subsequently contributed like a lot in that project, they may also be a part of your research project and their name may be in your author list after your title. Okay, it depends upon how much contribution they have in this project. So after that, next part is literature. Okay, so in literature, why literature is important or why references are important and how to cite them, that also we will discuss in detail. And apart from that, supporting information. So here in research methodology and method and discussion, you cannot put all the spectra, you cannot put all the details. So these details you can put in a separate file that might be supporting information for your research report as well. Because if you put all the spectra together, your 2-3 pages research report will look like a 50 pages report based on the data you have. Okay, so this is always good idea, keep them separate, but they should be connected with proper citation, giving proper numbering and proper sequence, and you should cite that sequence in your actual report. So then it will be easy to check where these spectra are located. So what you should cover in abstract that we already discussed more in details. What did I do exactly? You can give the brief overview of your project in abstract, and in introduction you have to mention what is the problem. Okay, what is the background of that problem and what solution you are giving in brief. You can mention at the end of introduction. Methods and materials. How did I solve it? What kind of methods I use? What kind of material I have prepared to solve that issue? How I characterize it and so on. Result, what did I find out based on all the analysis and discussions, based on overall study, what your experiments have done, what is my overall study, what is my overall conclusion. Okay, and that you can discuss in details after the results. So now we will see few important points which are very important when you are writing a report. So particularly if you see introduction and discussion, and how you should. So how you should write it. For example, introduction is the starting part of any report, and discussion and conclusion is almost like a last part of any report. Same thing for manuscript as well. So introduction, you start out by being fairly general and gradually narrow your focus. Means you are starting with very broad sentence with broad applications and something like that, or mentioning very broad view of that topic, and then you are narrowed down to your specific idea, giving the specific literature and so on. However, discussion is and conclusion is little bit opposite. Means now you come to the narrow point, but now you are giving broad overview of your particular results, that how it will be useful, how it will be having a lot of application in future. So that discussion will go a little bit broad, starting from the narrow starting. So while the introduction is presented first in the documents, however, as I mentioned yesterday also, most of the time what happens, like we have to write abstract at the end, you have to write title at the end, even if you have initially your introduction. Okay, whenever you are writing proposal or whenever your PI is asking you to start that work, they are already having some introduction ready for that particular project. Based on that, we are working on that project. But it may happen that you got some other results, or you may get some good results, or meanwhile, somebody might have reported few more results. So it is always a good idea to revise your introduction at the end of your study before you start writing. Okay, and also it is a good idea once you finished you're writing your report, again try to revise your introduction so that it should match with the flow. Okay, you need to be certain about what is that you have done and what you have found before you write the introduction, because sometimes there should not be a mismatch. What you claim in introduction and actually what you observed in your conclusion, that should match, that should be in one flow. So after introduction, how to start with the methods and materials section. So sometimes there will be result and discussion first, and after materials and method. So we will see a few important points for writing methods and materials first. And here, this is also overall view of any research report you can imagine. So in general model methods, this particularly materials and methods provides a general introduction and overview of the materials and methods, exactly what kind of materials and methods you are using, from which source, their citation and so on. And then also it indicates what is the purpose of your work, why you are making that particular material, whether you are planning to make it nano size or something like that. And give the source of the material and equipment used, from particularly which supplier you are getting that, if it is important. And also same thing for the material. If you are following anybody else procedure, that you will mention also. And also it will give brief background information. So that information might be useful for others to reproduce their result. And it's also provide a specific and precise details about experimental section. For example, how much quantity, temperature, duration. So experimental setup, or what kind of setup you had, how you perform that experiment, how you characterize that material, and so on. And why you selected that particular method, that also you will discuss. And related materials and method to other studies that you can discuss in result and discussion. And also sometimes if it is too much, even we can include some of the information in supporting section, particularly from this section. So why do I need to introduce the methods and materials? Because it makes the entry into section smoother for the reader. For example, sometimes we feel that we are just copy pasting information from the previous work, because I'm using the same method for making my single step or two step for multi-step synthesis. So I'm using, so just citation is enough, but sometimes it may be not easy for reader to go back to that particular citation and again read it. Okay, so in that cases, or even for making some material and all, we need to use a previous method, but we have to cite that method. That is very important. So just citation is also not enough. Always it is a good idea to mention details about the method. Why should I give reason for what I did? Because sometimes you feel that, okay, that was my logic, I have done that. Why I should discuss? Why? What was the logic behind that experiments? So your reasons may be obvious to you, but it may not be obvious to your readers. So they may not guess why you have performed this study. So they need to read it. They need to see it exactly what study you have done in what sequence, what are your overall observation. So if you do not provide justification for what you did, then the reader may not accept. If they are very specialized, or even if they are not specialized, so they make their mind based on that data. So they may make another judgment. So therefore it is very important to provide the justification. If you do not explain why you did things, then the readers cannot be expected to accept your method directly. Okay, so they may feel that, okay, this method may not reproducible, or it may have some issue, or there might be some question. Yes. Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
So how much details do I need to provide, particularly in materials and method? If you are not certain that all readers will be familiar, for example, if you are writing a paper which is interdisciplinary, like chemistry and biology, and if you feel that it is not required to give all the details, so you can mention a little much of the information which is sufficient for understanding basic, and other information you can give in a supporting information. So sufficient details must be presented for the readers to replicate your experiment, either in materials and method or in the supporting information. That is also very important. Why should I refer to other research in this section? Because sometimes you will feel that, okay, material methods, I'm making a new material, I'm making a new molecule, I'm making something particularly new drug. So why I should cite what your steps I have done? That steps might be reported, but my molecule is new, my nanomaterial is new. But you are not doing it by yourself. You are not entirely doing a new chemistry. You are following the work. That is research. Like we are searching whatever has been done previously, and we are trying to do something new. Okay. Therefore, it is very important to give credit to the person who has developed that particular work, or who has mentioned that particular work in their papers and so on. So therefore, citation or giving a reference, it's very important for whatever methods you are using. Okay. And when should I stop writing the methods and material section? It is best to stop after you have provided the basic parameter for your methods, because sometimes you will get confused about material methods, experimental section, and result and discussion. Or sometimes you will see that people might be combining these sections together when they are starting writing and so on. So initially it is okay, because you are just beginning to this field, you are just start writing. But once you are expert in the field, you will know exactly which is material method, which is experimental section, and which one is your actual result and discussion. So it is important to provide all the details in the results section which are required apart from your materials and methods. Why should I mention problems that I experienced? Because when you are writing a report, you will feel that all the good story I should highlight, and all the difficult things I should hide. Okay, because this is a common thing. If you see the publication, you will come across that they have done everything good, everything is working, but before they start any work, they might have a lot of failures. They might have suffered a lot to get that result. They have like maybe 99 failure experiment and one experiment work, and out of that one experiment, they got a new molecule or they got new idea or something like that. So when you are writing a research report, it is also very important that you should mention all this data. If you do not mention your imperfection of the work or what your difficulties you have, it might look like you are not aware of them. Okay, or you look far more professional if you do not mention them, and it will look like that you are more oriented towards just like getting a result, but not analyzing the results. And after that, if your readers, for example, in this case, your next person, whoever is working on that particular topic, may feel that you have hidden some data when he is reproducing, he is getting some other results or some other kind of side products, they may feel or they may doubt also on your data. Okay, so just to avoid that, whatever side products, whatever other issues you are facing, that's also good idea to mention them, but instead of highlighting them, you can politely mention this might be another issue in our projects or something like that. So if I had a problem, should I repeat my work and improve my technique? Okay, because most of the time when we are doing research, we are trying to get some solution, and always whatever work you do in whichever journal you are publishing, whether it's a 100 impact factor journal, 1 impact factor journal, always there is a scope for improvement. Okay, do not forget about that. So if you keep trying to improve your own work for the same paper, same project, you will keep trying to doing it again and again, and you will not able to publish it. You will not able to show the result. So you should decide at what point you should stop doing this particular work, or that particular technique you can finish. Okay, this is my final overall steps for the synthesis. There might be again 10 routes for the same thing that you can do in the next project. Okay, that also you should know exactly where you should stop doing your particular experiment and where you should proceed for the next experiment. So what if you learn more this time too? Should you delay it again and again? No, you should not delay. If you do, you may actually never write anything. You will keep doing that same experiments again and again. Same thing for optimization of the parameter. Sometimes we feel temperature is important, and when you do all the optimization, again you feel now temperature is again important at final optimization. If you keep doing that, there will be a lot of work initially. So instead of that, always keep some scope for the improvement and you can improve it further. A better option is to write up your research and acknowledge the problems or difficulties you encounter in your project. And it's better to do it here than wait until the end you get the results, because then you will be having enough time to focus on your next experiment. It's not appropriate to mention the limitations or the imperfection of for the first time in the discussion, because if you start negatively with your discussion, people will think that okay, this may not be actual result, or he may have a lot of other kind of stories also. So you can politely mention at the end, means you can mention some positive points about your result, but instead of avoiding limitation, you can politely mention, okay, these are the limitations of our work and we are still working on further improvement of this limitation. But won't I look like a failure? Is I mentioned the problem I had. So particularly to minimize that, you can use your vocabulary, you can use a polite language and take the responsibility, mention that these are the limitation and this might be the issues why we are having this limitation, and we are trying to solve that, or might be there will be some features or something like that. So after materials and method, result and discussion. The result section summarize the data and the logical discussion. Okay, so here you will see that whatever experiments you have carried out, whatever materials and methods you have used, you got some material, you got some molecule, then you have did a lot of study, you have that study, and now here you will mention what are your results based on your overall experiments. And then these results will be useful for logical discussion also. So it is important to us understand how to present the data. So data you will get in terms of like spectra, you will get yields, you will get different images, you will get photos, you will get schemes, you will get figures. So you should know exactly where to present this data and how to present this data, where I should use schemes, where I should use tables, how to make a figures out of this. Okay, that's also very, very important. And within tables and figures, you should know exactly how to give titles, how to give footnotes, and how to write particular data in a scientific way. So for that, reading is also important. And whenever you are reading any article, have a look at the tables, have a look at the schemes, check how they are writing the titles, how they are mentioning the schemes, how they are mentioning the footnotes, how they are citing that table in the text. That's also very important, because same thing you will be doing in your research report. So tables, schemes, and figures always appear in the order in which they are mentioned in the text. If you see any article, starting from research publication, review, or a research report or anything, so whenever you mention table 1, then table 2, table 3, same thing for scheme 1, 2, 3, 4, figure 1, 2, 3, 4, along with their captions and all. So just drawing table is not enough. You have to discuss about that table. Okay, what data is there in that table, and then after logical discussion, you have to cite that table or scheme in the text. Whatever paragraph you are writing, you have to mention, okay, this is a table 1, means we observed that here temperature is playing a key role and we found 100 degrees Celsius is the best temperature. In bracket, you have to mention, please sit, or maybe table 1, entry 1 to 5. So that means if you check table 1, entry 1 to 5, you will get an idea about what are the other temperatures we have screened to come to that conclusion that 100 degrees Celsius is best. So same thing for schemes and figures. Therefore, always mention in the order. Okay, always label them properly in order and cite them in the text. It's very important for writing result and discussion. And explain why you have carried out those experiments. What was the logic? What was your observation? Okay, because sometimes if there are experiments which are not logical, means you have done temperature study, then you are checking total synthesis, then you are mentioning like again we modified our route. So there should not be mismatch. Okay, sometimes this may happen when you are doing your daily experiment, you are working on 2-3 projects, and you may forget to do some kind of sequence. That then you realize, okay, I forgot to do first, like for example, study of those reagent, and now I am directly working with physical parameter, time, study, and temperature. So for your understanding, that is okay. But when you are writing it, you should write in a logical way. What was the reason why you have screened first parameter and then the second parameter? And what was your observation based on those studies? Same thing for making nanomaterials, same thing for making drug molecules, same thing for any other research project. And after that, summarize the obtained data and mention the obtained facts. Based on whatever materials you have synthesized, whatever results you obtain, try to summarize it in a such a way that you will get some conclusion. So then you can discuss about it. Here discussion part will start. And explain whether or not your hypothesis have been confirmed. Okay, and do not write any imaginary interpretation. That's very important. So what you're writing, whatever things you are writing here, that should be based on the facts. You should have spectra for that. You should have some solid proof of the experiments for that writing, because this is the actual work we have done. Okay, this is not an introduction, this is not a proposal. So in research and discussion, you have to write actual fact. And that's how you are connected now to the discussion section. So here you have to discuss about what you observed in your results. Then you should discuss about advantages and shortcoming of your study as well, and what implications this have for your findings. Discuss the things or future researchers should investigate about your topic that could be a part of confusion as well, and leave the readers with the understanding he or she thought have about the topic you spent so much time on exploring. So that reader should understand, at the same time he should develop some thoughts that, okay, this study can be further explored in a such a way, or these are the limitation and I can have a potential to solve it, or maybe, okay, this is a good idea, they got a very good solution. So they should come up with some conclusion based on your writing. Okay, so this is about discussion, and conclusion will be overall part of your result and discussion section. So next important part, sometimes we do not discuss much about it, is references. But in research, this is very, very important to mention about the references. Why? Because we are using work done by somebody else previously, and we are trying to explore that work for making new idea, or making a new project, or making some new molecule or something like that. So particularly where you will see the references in any paper, you will see the references at 2 places. Okay, and along with references, it is also important to acknowledge whoever has helped you for making that project successful. So in the body of your work, particularly if you see introduction section, there you will see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Somewhere after every sentence, there will be a number, and this indicates this correspond to that particular reference at the end. So one correspond to that reference number 1. So this is the first section. You will see the reference 1. So this is when you refer to the known theories and ideas to support your own work in the body of your assignment. For example, if I'm saying that first method for amide synthesis have been developed by so and so scientist. So just mentioning is not enough. I have to cite, I have to mention that reference, and that reference will then correlate to the reference list. Okay. And in the reference list, if you go, then you will see that, okay, this is the paper which I'm citing for that particular sentence. So even for writing the references, there are different styles. So you can check on Google what are these different styles, and then apart from these styles, also there are many journals, they have their own styles of writing it, and this format and these templates are available on their journals, author page, and so on. So APA, America Psychological Association style, British Standard Numeric style, then Modern Language Association style. So there are so many other styles of writing any references. Apart from that, each journal having their own style depending upon what kind of journal you are writing. As well as you can develop your own style in your own group. That is also possible if your mentor prefers particular certain citation format, you can follow that format. And one more important thing, like now we are discussing about references, but nowadays there are also softwares. So where you can store all these references, like there is one software EndNote. So in that, all this formatting is already pre-stored and you just need to click, but you have to store all the references in the same numbering format. And how to use EndNote and all that you can check on Google. There are free videos available. So what is referencing? Referencing is a system used in the academic community to indicate where ideas, theories, quotes, facts, or any other evidence to support your assignments can be found. So if you are mentioning that I have synthesized so and so molecule using so and so method, so you will cite, and then this method, you will see that method in that previous paper. So therefore, citation or referencing is very important. Why do I need referencing? So referencing is important in the academic community for a number of reasons: to avoid plagiarism, a form of academic theft. So that always why we need to cite, to give credit to the original authors, to give credit to the previous workers, those who have contributed for that idea. Referencing your work correctly ensure that you are giving appropriate credit to the previous authors. Okay. And referencing the source that you have used for your assignment demonstrate the evidence and the research that you have undertaken to complete or support your ideas. It also indicates that in case if you are developing some new idea, and in the references, if you see, nobody has done it before. So that also indicates you are doing it for first time. Okay. Then also you mentioned that people have worked on so and so area, but still this was the limitation and we have tried to solve this limitation. So reference work enables the reader to independently consult the same material that you have used. Okay, in case if your next person who is using that report after you to reproduce that work, you can get more details about that particular method or particular characterization by checking that particular paper which you have cited in your report. So what do I need to refer? For example, not only particular research papers, but in case if you have referred any other source, but it should be scientific, that is also very important. And maybe there are some famous quotes that also we cannot use directly in our introduction or somewhere. So always try to give credit to the person who has mentioned those quotes and so on. So it depends upon what kind of report you are writing. So you have to cite along with your research papers and all, ideas, theories, summary of somebody else's work, and then statistics of other data, which should be from the scientific source. Wikipedia you cannot cite. Okay, you cannot cite some internet website. That's also very important. You should know exactly what kind of references you should cite. So apart from that, in some cases, if you feel that this image is very important, graph is very important, I should reproduce in my article. This happens particularly in reviews. Okay. So before using that image also, we have to take permission from the previous author and publisher. So that also we need to cite it. So this list is not exhaustive. So remember, if you use anything in your work authored by someone else, please acknowledge their work and reference and cite them. That's also very important. So after references, next important thing is supporting information. So far we have discussed about experimental sections, we have discussed about materials and methods, but most of the time you are not having enough space to write all these things. So instead of showing the spectra, we will see the actual example, why this material method is important and how you should separate material methods and supporting information. So now here, if you see material and methods, in this is research publication, okay? Even you can imagine any research report. So you will be having introduction. After that, material and method, we will mention about materials we have used, what kind of other methodology we have used to make that molecule. But if you see the page limit, we cannot add everything in our report. So therefore, now I will show you supporting information. So supporting information contains most of the supporting data for that particular work. So for example, these graphs, now these are only few, okay? But however, if they are not that much relevant directly for that particular methods and discussion section, we can keep them at last. Particularly in case if you're working in organic chemistry, you'll be having number of NMRs, number of other HRMS and mass analysis, HPLC, spectra, and so on. However, the data which is actually important that you can mention in your report. But if there is a data which may not be an integral part of your report, but it's also important to show that you have done that experiment, you have done that particular analysis, you should make supporting information even for your project. It's also very important. Here see the example, like how many spectras are there, like for just like one small project. However, if you have done just like one small step, you have made one molecule and there is just one or two spectra, definitely you should include it. You can see 1 to 48 pages, okay, for this paper. This is a full paperwork, but if you see the spectra and all, there are a number of spectra. For each molecule, you need a characterization by NMR, mass, or something else, particularly for organic chemistry. Same thing for polymer and other chemistry. So we cannot include everything directly into the report. So this could be at the end or maybe a separate file as a supporting information. Okay. So therefore, you should know how to segregate, how to differentiate between materials and methods, experimental section, and supporting information. That's also very important. So, like any other data, also here you have to use proper captions. So I will show you the captions in actual data. If you see any image or figures, always, for example, this is supporting. So here you will see the table S1, and this S1 will be cited somewhere in the paper, wherever they are mentioning about this data. Same thing for figure S4, indicate this figure. Okay, figure S5, figure S6. So this will be cited in the text, and how it looks, I will show you exactly in the paper. What I mean, how to cite this table in the text. So here, can you see the scheme 1? So for the actual example, how to cite. So when I'm mentioning anything like which I need a support, for example, of particular note, aminomethylated phenols are widely found in PKS 130 inhibitors. To support this particular sentence, I have this reference. Okay. So here you can see the number 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each number indicates one reference. And here in reference section, you can see this 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is the first part. And second, I was discussing about citing this scheme 1. Okay, here you can see the scheme 1 in the text. So this is the title, scheme 1 selected aminomethylated phenols. This is the structure of aminomethylated phenols. And during the discussion, here they have cited this scheme 1. So it should not happen that you have mentioned scheme 1 figure, but it is nowhere in the text. Whatever you are mentioning, figure, scheme, everything should be cited in your text. That's also very important. Same thing for table 1. So here you will see somewhere table 1 also. Yeah, so we synthesize a new kind of chromium complex C124. Here you can see the table 1. Okay, so here you will see the table 1 increase 9 to 15. So whatever result they are mentioning, they are supporting their discussion with this data, table 1, and then they are mentioning this entry 1 to 9. And it should not happen that you are mentioning table, everything is there, but you are not citing that table and entries anywhere. Then it will be very confusing for a wide audience. Therefore, it is very, very important whenever you are having these tables, figures, everything, you should mention them. And now what is footnote? Below the table, you will see this footnote. Reaction condition are as follows. Okay, this is a footnote. Below the table, here you can see the reaction conditions. Sometime even below the figure, there will be some more information about that particular figures. They will cite A, B, C, something like that, and they will mention more details about that figure. Okay, so here you can see the scheme. And this scheme should be cited at somewhere. And in supporting information, here you can see they will mention exactly like where they have cited it if it is in a supporting information. Here you can see table S2. So that indicates this information is not there in this article, not in my report. But if you want to know about this particular table S2, you have to go to the supporting information. Table S2 is in the supporting information. Therefore, this supporting information is also very important. And how you cite this table, figures, images, supporting information, that's also very important. And then next part is exam. As I mentioned, why we are doing research to have some new knowledge or to learn something new and then to apply it for some other kind of application. So plagiarism is also a kind of thing which makes a lot of issues when you are writing a report, when you are making any kind of article. So always you have to take care of that. You are giving credit to other people. However, that doesn't mean that I'm copy pasting whole paragraph from other paper and then I'm citing, okay, I took this paragraph from so and so author. This is not acceptable. Okay, so what is plagiarism? So if you are using avoiding even, that is not allowed, but if you are using a technique of somebody else, you have to cite. So particularly materials and methods, you will see that people are using material methods as it is because it's actual experimental setup, but you have to cite it. But in case of introduction, you have to rewrite it because it's not an introduction, it's a history. Sorry, it's not a materials and methods. It's a history about whatever work has been done by previous researchers. So to avoid plagiarism, cite every time a fact or idea is used unless it is clear that one citation is referring to a group of the facts or the ideas. So somewhere you have to cite, even if it is a repetitive, somewhere you have to cite. If you quote a material, put a quotation mark around the quote stuff and include a page number within the citation. That's also important. It is all right, particularly when you are making new material, new molecule or something, and if you are using existing method, you can use it as it is, but however you have to cite somewhere in a supporting information or within your actual research report or maybe in research paper. Whenever you are having doubt whether I should cite or not, if you are taking something, then always it is a good idea to cite. Whenever you have question mark. And it is always a good idea before submitting your report or any other kind of article, always use, nowadays there are many good softwares available which can thoroughly check your particular document and give the report in case if you have copy pasted anything. Okay, just for example, if you want to see, I can show you one of the software and how we can catch any copy paste. So why you should not do the copy paste. So we have access for this particular authentic software, and in front of you, we'll show you the demo how we can catch any copy paste. So this is the article. Okay, so I'm copy pasting this abstract as it is. So because you are also having this assignment, some of you may also attempt to get some wording. I'm not saying that you will try to do it, but just assume in case if you do, what will happen. So I'm showing you a real example. Let me save it. Let's see. Abstract template. Okay, so I have copy pasted as it is the abstract, and now we are using authentic software. I will upload that file. Yeah, sometime. Let's see what happens, but then we will discuss it. Okay, so this is the authentic software. It's not freely available. We need to pay to get a subscription for this software. Like that, there are 1 or 2 more softwares available. Now I have uploaded this particular test one, and now what's happening? It's checking all the internet source to see if anything is copy pasted. And if it is copy pasted, here you will get the percentage. Sometime if it is a reference or list of references, it will also, okay, here can you see this 97%? Test one. If I click on here, 97%, it will show me the report for that particular article. Even you can imagine a thesis. Even you can imagine in the research paper. We can screen that research paper in this software, and we can get exactly how much is the percent of copy paste in that particular. Here you can see reference 1. Okay, and now here you are getting more details from which source this person has copy pasted. So here if I click on this particular reference, okay, can you see this? I can directly open that article, and I think it's the same. Am I right? So that's how now you have assignments. So do not try to copy paste. Use your own wording. Okay. I will give you another example. So instead of copy pasting everything, even if you copy paste single line, that also it will catch. The approach showed excellent site selectivity at the ortho position. Am I audible?
So,
yeah. So you can see why should not copy paste, because during your, even in your BSc and MSc, most of you may not be aware about this issue. Okay, I think there is some issue while uploading, but anyway, may have happened because I did not save the document particularly. But I will show you some examples. So this is one of the example of the thesis chapter I got from one of my friend to check for the plagiarism. So this is this thesis chapter, and here if you see, so particularly in data, there is no copy paste. However, in case if you have published that paper already, it will show it as a copy paste because it is already in the public domain. So in that case, you know already this is your own work, so that is allowed. Particularly, for example, in many cases, even references, here we have filter, what we can omit. So exclude bibliography, that means references. If I do not exclude it, it will show this references also copy paste, but that is acceptable because format you cannot change, reference you cannot change. Here you can see reference from so and so particular journal. That is fine. Okay, references we can use as it is, but not the text. These few words, these are scientific words. This may have appeared in many articles, so this is fine. But if you see a complete sentence, like here, it's not at all acceptable. Even like full sentence, it is not acceptable. Okay, so therefore, it is very important whenever you are writing any research report or scientific report, you should be very careful and you should cross-check whether I have copy-pasted anything, whether it was my own wording. If it is not your own wording, you have to rewrite that sentence in your own language. Particularly, this happens in introduction, okay? Because we cannot change history, we cannot change previous credits, so we have to rewrite that introduction in our own language. Okay, so we will go back to the presentation. So yeah, that's all from my side for writing a research report. Now, if you have any question, we can discuss. I think I already exceeded a little bit of time. Sorry for that. It's 3:30 now. But anyway, it's 1 hour. So now, if you have any question about writing a report or anything, we can discuss. Yes.
Akash has raised his hand.
Yes, Akash.
Yes, sir. I want to ask, can supporting information be from anywhere, like from any previous research paper or any reference book like that?
No. Why? Because what is supporting information? Supporting information is the information which you cannot put in your result and discussion. And result and discussion is nothing but your own original work. To support that work, you are mentioning that spectra. You have made that molecule or whatever material you have, and you have characterized it with your own material. Because, for example, benzoic acid. If I see benzoic acid, there might be hundreds of reported reports for making benzoic acid or for its synthesis, and there will be hundreds of spectra. So then I will think why I should do one more 1H NMR, why I should use one more C13 NMR. Okay, but that is not acceptable. It means I cannot copy paste 1H C13 from previous supporting information and put into my work. That will be a wrong impression. Why? Because you are making with the new method. You may be having some solvent traces, you may be having some impurity in it, or this is not like particularly that compound which had this spectra particularly. So whenever you make new molecule, you have to do own analysis and you have to put only your own spectra and supporting information. Not only spectra, whatever information you are putting in supporting information, that should be generated from your own data. In case if you want to compare, okay, that we have made this nanomaterial and it looks like particularly this and this nanomaterial, so you have to cite, okay, and then you can compare. You have to mention this spectra is from so and so data, so and so supporting information, and this is our own spectra. Therefore, we are comparing. Or maybe enantiomeric excess in that case, or maybe some, for example, big molecule like a Taxol. We made this molecule and we confirm this is the actual NMR, and we have cross-checked with that so and so. Even citation is enough in that case. But if you want to compare, you can show, but you have to cite. But never ever use a data from supporting information showing as your own data or your own supporting information. That is very important.
So that means it is a kind of observation that will be used to analyze the final result.
Yeah, you can say so, because what is supporting information? Whenever you are doing any reaction, for example, we will consider now organic chemistry example. If I'm making any kind of molecule, aldehyde to imine, okay, what will happen? I will do the reaction. After doing the reaction, I will get the product. We'll try to purify that product by different chromatographic techniques, and at the end, I will get some product. But how I will confirm whether I have imine or impurity, what I have in my hand? If it is known compound, just with the known compound, I can confirm by TLC. Its RF factor is same, but still it's not a confirmation. So then I have to check its mass, molecular weight. So I can use GCMS. So whatever data I obtain, I will put in a supporting information. I will check its NMR. Then I will confirm, yes, NMR is matching. So whatever we have predicted, it's matching, and also it's matching with the reported literature data. So that my own NMR I will put in a supporting information. So this is a supplementary information to prove that you have done that work. Okay, therefore it is very important. Second thing is, if whenever you are making a new molecule or new kind of material, so that material may not have previous spectra or previous data. And also to show that you have made that molecule, you will analyze that data and you will mention, yeah, this peak corresponding to this peak corresponding to this CH2 proton or aromatic proton. Therefore, we conclude that this is a Taxol or something, for example. So supporting information always give a confirmatory test that you have done that experiment. It's like a whatever data you are presenting, material and methods. So that data is supported by its characterization or by its other data. Sometimes if you feel that spectras are important, some spectras may be there in your actual result and discussion, but we cannot include everything. So therefore supplying information is different. But it's not an extension of work, it's a confirmatory work of whatever you have done. Any other
Okay,
question?
sir. Thank you.
If we are stating some laws in our research paper that have been used and we forgotten to put double quotes but have given credit to bibliography, will that be shown as a no, it not be a plagiarism. If you cite it, that's fine. It may show up in the Turnitin, but once you know that this is the quote and you have cited it with the reference, then you can omit that particular, means nobody will mind about that quote if you are citing. Okay. So that was one of the question. Any other question?
Students, do you have any questions? You will be writing an abstract, so you have read a research paper, you have gone through 2 sessions. So I guess you must be having some questions in your mind. Aman has raised his hand. Aman,
Yes.
can you go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. So, sir, I wanted to ask that if we are citing and giving references properly, then still we have to communicate with the author of that work and take permission?
No, not at all. Whenever you are writing a research report, research paper, anything, you don't need the permission from the author for citations. Okay. When we need a permission, for example, if you want to use a photograph or the image or whatever figures or confusion are there in the report, and if you want to reproduce same thing in your own paper, either to compare it or maybe for writing a review. Okay. So in that case, we need particularly permission from author. In research reports, generally it is not required because it's an internal report. But if you are keeping it in a public domain, then definitely you need a permission if it is like a review article. Particularly for review writing, because what we are writing in review, we are just writing summary of the work, what people have done. So we are giving them a credit about their work. So people will not mind giving you a permission. Authors will not mind, publishers will not mind. But if you are making a nanoparticle and then you are taking a photo from some other else and mentioning we have followed the same method and we assume that we make also gold nanoparticle with the same size and this is the spectra, and then you are citing that author. And if you ask his permission, they will deny the permission. Okay, because now you are reproducing that work, so you have to reanalyze your data. So therefore, there are two aspects. First, for review, definitely if you are using image and all, you need a permission. But for generally for citing, just like references and previous work, particularly in introduction section, we don't need a permission.
And sir, will they easily permit to use the images for our work?
Can you please repeat your question?
Sir, will they easily permit to use their the images that they have already published?
It's up to you. For example, if you're author and if you get an email that we want to use your scheme as it is in our review, or maybe your image, whatever you have clicked in your abstract as it is, can you please permit? So it's up to you. But most of the time people try to rewrite it, redraw it in many cases. So even after redrawing it, in case if it is similar, you need a permission of author. So it depends on individuals actually. But most of the time people will not mind, because if you are citing them in reference and you are putting them in a review, this is also credit for them. So they will get publicity through your article. So generally people will not mind, but it depends on individual choice.
Okay, there is a question by Ankita. Acha, okay, Aman, go ahead here.
Okay, ma'am. So, sir, in supporting information, is there some set format, or just we have to give the title supporting information and whatsoever extra materials that we have, we can add there, like NMR or spectra?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. In most of the journals, like if you see, they will be having some template for writing their manuscript for before publishing the manuscript, they will convert into their particular template for that particular journal. But so far in many journals, for supporting information, they don't have such kind of restrictions. However, as a researcher, we have to arrange it in such a sequence that it should match with your data. Means whichever data come first, that we should show first. Means, for example, optimization study, or maybe then after that other study, and at the end, all the spectra and images. Okay, so there is no standard format, but we have to put it logically for supporting information. However, for actual research article, most of the papers or most of the journals, they have particular template. Either they will ask you to submit in Word format and their team will convert that into the template, or before submitting, you have to transfer your words into that template and then you have to submit your manuscript. So these are the two different things. For templates, like particularly for research article, yes, there is a template, but supporting information sometimes not required. It should be logical.
And sir, if we have to give some citation in supporting material, then it has to go in the same references and bibliography
Yes.
portion.
Yeah, in case, for example, in supporting information, somebody may mention that they have developed some method for making that molecule. And if you're using that method for some multi-step synthesis, so either you can cite that paper in your actual research article, if it is a part of your result and discussion, that we have developed this so and so molecule and these steps we have followed. Or in case it was intermediate or something, even you can mention that in your supporting information. That is also fine. Mentioning that molecule, citing that we have followed this so and so procedure. In some cases, even you don't need to mention the procedure if you are citing that particular article. But it's a good idea to mention procedure also.
Okay, sir.
So Ankita is asking that when we are using some info in our report, it should be particularly from research papers and not from any website. When she's asking.
Yeah, particularly if you are talking about research article, definitely it should be from very, very like scientific source, like research articles or well accepted research review. Even it should not be from like fabricated journals. So there are also local journals available. So you have to take care that you are citing particular papers which are reported in a good journals, even patents and all, that is fine. But we cannot cite a website as a reference, because website content is not a scientific content, we can say. Because what is a scientific content most of the time in terms of article, which were peer reviewed, which gone through some process. So people have seen that work, editor has seen it, then they forward it to the specialized person, they rechecked it, they confirm your novelty, and then you have published it. Therefore, we have to cite such articles which went through this process. If somebody is claiming something directly on internet, we cannot directly cite it. However, if you feel it's very, very important and it may have some scientific evidence or something like that, you can mention, but generally try to avoid that. Yes, any other question?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Pavitra, go ahead.
Sir, I have a small doubt that if we are taking a graph from someone, then do we have to add them in the acknowledgement part also?
Can you please repeat? If we are taking graph?
Yeah, graphs from some other articles or research papers, we will be citing it. Along with that, do we have to add them in the acknowledgement part?
No, acknowledgement is different. And even taking a graph as it is, you will need a permission from that author and so on. You will cite that after the permission, if you want to compare or if you want to show the extension study and so on. Now about the acknowledgement, to whom you should acknowledge. So generally we acknowledge the funding agency who gave the money for that project, our university institute. And then apart from that, whoever contributed for that research project, for example, for analysis, in case if that analysis is not available in your group, or maybe some collaborators who have contributed, but just very small part, or they gave some suggestions for improvement. But even before acknowledgement, it is good idea to take their permission. Okay, so sometimes we cannot put them directly into the author list. So these people we can put into acknowledgement because they have very small contribution for that research project. But definitely we cannot acknowledge directly author with whom you are you are citing them already. The citation is already, you are giving them a acknowledgement. So acknowledgement should be there. For more clarification, I would like to suggest you can discuss more with the person who is more expert in taking care of this editorial thing of issues for publication, but this is my personal view.
Okay, so one more thing. If we are in writing the reference, is there any specific pattern like their author name, then date of publication, something like that, or it's depend upon us?
No, it depend upon for what kind of article. If you're writing just like for first time, then you can write in any format, like for your own purpose. Okay, that I'm writing this article, then you can decide. I'll put name first, surname first, then journal name, then I will put year and then page number and so on. But if you want to publish or if you want to write any particular scientific document, so in that case, you need to check, is there any given format for that particular research paper? If you want to publish in Journal of Organic Chemistry, they may be having some different format, that you should have italic journal name, then you have to first put initials and then surname, then comma. So there each journal will be having that particular format. So same thing may happen even in your research group, that your PI or maybe research group may prefer some particular format. Okay, so therefore this is very important. But nowadays, as I show you one of the software Turnitin, now we also have EndNote kind of software. So this is not a big issue. Once you have the number of references in one folder, just on a one click, you can change that format as per your requirement. Please check how you can use the EndNote. But definitely question to your answer. There is particular format depending upon where you are submitting that particular document.
And sir, there is no restrictions for we should add only 13 reference or 28 or 30. Is there anything like that?
Generally, like it depends upon what kind of paper you are writing, whether it's a full paper, whether it's a review, whether it's a communication or short paper. So depending upon page limit, for example, if you have 4-page limit, you have 400 citations, you don't have space to write your own data. Then you have to cut down in a such way that you are writing only a specific data. So generally, people try to prefer cite for recent references. For a broad view, you can cite a reviews, because reviews sometimes contain most of the previous information, and most of the time when you are citing the original work, the person who has invented first, so there you can cite a particular paper. But if it is a broad topic, then instead of citing all the papers, it is a good idea to cite a review. That's how you can short down your number of references. But definitely there is a limit based on number of papers, number of pages for that particular journal.
Sir, you said about review. Could you please elaborate that? I don't get that exactly.
Okay, so as I mentioned in my previous talk also, there are different kinds of articles. First is like research papers, second is review. Within research papers, there are different articles like communication, note, full paper, and there might be a few more. So research papers or research article are based on your actual laboratory based work. Whatever work you have done in laboratory, that you will do and you will publish either as a communication if it is very novel. If it is like just extension of work, you may publish as a note. And if it is full detail extension with more details of characterization, mechanistic study and all, you may publish it as a full paper. So that is based on actual research work. But reviews are different. What is review? We are reviewing some movie, for example. How was that movie? How was the characters and so on? So same thing, here you are reviewing some topic. So whoever worked in that topic, they have published number of papers. So based on that particular area, a review will contain information about that area. So how people have developed that area in the last 5 years, 10 years, or if it is very specific, what kind of work has been done so far, something like that. So it is just like a short abstract of each article. And within the review also there are different types: short review, long review, full review, or maybe prospective. So depending upon which journal is publishing, what kind of reviews they are publishing. So reviews are not original research. These are kind of book chapter, or you can imagine as a the kind of abstract of all the previous papers. in that area. That's the difference between review and research paper. In review, definitely you will see more list of the references because they are basically depend upon previous articles. So each article they will cite. So you will see from 10 to 200 or maybe even 400 references in review articles.
Okay, so in that broad case, if we are adding the reviews, then just we have to elaborate the things. We don't want to
Okay,
cite
now I
it.
understood what you are asking, like why we should cite a review instead of the article. So you don't need to elaborate. For example, if I'm saying amides are useful, particularly for pharmaceuticals and peptide synthesis. So instead of giving very specific example of one of the paper, because here I'm mentioning very broad one, it's a good idea to give a reference for the review which covers most of the research paper, particularly amide for pharmaceutical molecules or amide based pharmaceutical molecules. So if I cite that review, that will be more appropriate compared to very single paper. Because that review will contain most of the other papers also, their references.
Okay, so now I got it. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
There are two questions in the chat. So one of them is asking that during internships, if we are given to write a project report, shall we follow the same format as research papers?
Yeah, not exactly the same as a research paper, because if you see the research paper, it's very condensed information. But in research report, you have a lot of space. It's up to you. There is no page limit. So generally, what is important in research report? How you did that experiment. That experimental setup is important. What kind of materials you have used, exactly the procedures and all. So this information in research paper you will see in supporting information. Okay. So do not follow the exactly same format. Titles will be the same, but the content may be little bit different. Means here in materials and methods, or maybe result and discussion, you will be discussing more details. And if you combine 10 reports, for example, if like 10 people working on that project, you will be having maybe 100 pages. But in research article, you will see just like 4 pages article. Because this is like a summary of whatever work you have done on that project. The report need to be very extensive with all the details, whatever observations you had during your experiment, with more details, because sometime this report will be an integral part of your manuscript. Because if I'm writing a report right now, and after 1 year, if I'm writing manuscript, I may forget about what kind of experiments I have done, what was the reason. But if I review my report, I'll get some kind of background information. Okay, I performed this experiment, this was the observation, this was the reason for color change. And these small things I can use for writing my papers. So title will remain same, but contents will be extensive in detail. Okay, even if you do 2 months internship, you will be having at least maybe 5 to 8 pages of research report, depending upon what kind of data you have.
So the other question is, should I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
So Shashank is asking that, can you please explain about keywords in the abstracts and research article part?
Yeah, so generally keywords is nothing but, for example, once you finish your project, so along with abstract, it's also important to identify the keywords which can correlate your topic. Why these keywords are important? For example, if you want to search something in Google, what you do, you will not write full sentence. You will type some word, okay, hotel near me, or maybe some showroom, Tata showroom near me. So particularly in search engines, for scientific search engines, you will do same thing. So amide synthesis, or maybe carbonylative amide synthesis. I'm making too specific, but even you can use any antifungal agent. So you cannot use a very broad term. So you will be very specific about 2 keywords. So that keywords will relate your topic. Exactly what kind of work your particular paper present or your report presents. So depending on your work, you will mention at least 3 to 5 keywords. So generally they expect 4 to 5. In every paper you will see there are at least 4 to 5 keywords. I will show you exactly few examples. So particularly in this paper, we will see whether they have keywords in it. Sometimes these keywords are mentioned directly in the paper or sometime maybe in the abstract. And why these keywords are important? Because this is very useful for literature search or maybe searching article relevant to that keyword. Let me see. Okay, I think I cannot get in this article. We'll see. Because whenever you submit a paper, you will need to submit keywords also. So that keyword will indicate what kind of work you have done. That will correlate. Here, can you see these keywords? Keywords: palladium, alkene, cross-coupling, CH activation, regioselectivity. So if I type this CH activation somewhere in the SciFinder or in a Google, so among the thousands of articles, that search engine will also screen one of this article. If it is very specific area, and if my keyword is very specific, it will screen only that particular articles which are having this kind of keywords. So here you can see concise, stereoselective, and whatever topic it is, here you can check. There will be keywords: natural product, stereoselective synthesis, dipolar cycloaddition, carbonyl ylide, heterocyclic chemistry, oxabicycloheptane. So why they are putting this keyword? Assuming that a person who is interested in this area may search such kind of article by using this particular keywords. Because these keywords are related to my article, then I will identify, okay, these are the keywords for my particular paper. So as a researcher or as an intern, when you get your PhD topic of, not PhD topic, sorry, your intern topic, so what you will see, okay, first you will search with that particular topic title or maybe some keywords from that topic. So that word you will put into search engine, and accordingly articles which are relevant to that particular topic will come up. So even in Google we can see. So heterocyclic chemistry, if I put here, it will show everything like heterocycle chemistry related. In SciFinder, same thing. So whenever you are searching anything, you are searching by using one or two words. Okay. So there are 7,51,019 references for this word heterocyclic chemistry, and out of all this 7,51,000, one of the article might be this one. Okay. So therefore we have to be very careful for selecting the keywords. It should give overview of your topic. At the same time, it should be easy for others to search your particular article. I hope you understood about keywords. Even in some paper it is not mentioned, but when we submit a manuscript, we need to give at least 4 to 5 keywords. So these keywords they will mention somewhere. So here you can see that 857 papers which are having this word carbonyl ylides somewhere, either in the paper or either in the text or maybe in a title. Okay, so all these references are correspond to this word, and definitely one of the article could be this paper. That is the use of keyword. I hope you got answer for your question.
Yes, sir. Clear. Thank you. Sir, I have another question also. Like, how can someone publish his review article or research article? Like, sir, what is the procedure for that?
Yeah, review article or research article generally like means people what they do like generally they will assign the topic and they will ask a student to do literature search in that area. And once you have the number of papers in that area, then you will check whether anybody has written any review on that specific topic. If it is not written, then you will start writing it. But as a researcher, I will not prefer that. That might be good for a research practice purpose. But at the same time, that PI should be expert in that topic, and PI or maybe project leader need to be contribute extensively, because he or like that group is having expertise in that particular area. Then it's a good idea to write a review on particular topic. Otherwise, anybody can write a review. That's not a big issue. Means you just need to collect a paper and then write a summary of that paper and then highlight what is the issue. But however, the person who is extensively working in that area, he knows much better what are the limitations for the current project, like for the current schemes, and how we can improve it further, and what kind of literature is already available in that area. So purpose of writing reviews to fill up the gap and to show the community that yes, this is the area where we need to contribute more to develop this area further. And also it gives brief literature to the new researcher. So instead of putting more efforts in doing literature search, they can use this data and directly start their work by referring or by using few of the papers. So review writing is easy. It's not at all difficult, but it's need training. Also, it is a good idea always to write a review with someone who is expert in the research, particularly in publishing papers and reviews. Okay, that's very important.
Okay, sir, clear. Thank you. Sir, also I have another doubt in the assignment part. Sir, like, can we include graphic abstract along with the abstract?
Yeah, if you are like familiar with ChemDraw, or if you know already like how to make different kind of drawings for your particular abstract, then definitely you are free to do the graphical abstract. But because I have not taught it, you are just like at BSc level, I will not expect that it should be very correct, but do not do any copy paste. That's very important. You can attempt it. There is no limitation. That's a good idea, but do not copy paste anything from the internet.
Sir, how can we analyze if we have copied graphical abstract or graphical something? Like,
yeah,
is
that's a
there
good
any
question. So far, there were no software, but now I think there are companies which are developing these softwares also. Like previously, there was issue. Even forget about this pictures and images, but even a spectra and all, it was difficult to identify whether you are copy pasted or you are directly putting it from some other paper, or it's your own data. But nowadays, people are coming up with some softwares which can thoroughly scan it. Okay. And then they can identify it. Even if you see in Google, there is a option. You can select particular using artificial intelligence. You can select a photo and then you can search a similar photos to that photo. Okay. So generally don't like try to copy paste anything when you're publishing, because a person who is doing literature, he will come across such a thing and they may notify that to editor that we found that this image is same in this so and so paper. So even a scientific community is broad, the person who is working in that particular area, in that particular specific topic, they are limited. So they know most of the time about the literature and all. That is another way to catch such kind of images. So definitely in future, you will see more scientific apps to scan such kind of images as well. It is better not to do it right now.
Yes, sir, clear. Thank you.
Any other question?
There is one question, sir, by Shomiti. She's asking that is supporting information a must? For example, if a report contains only a few graphs of spectroscopic data, can we just include them in the methodology and results section instead of making a separate supporting information?
Yes, it's definitely like you can do that. Like if it is just like a few graphs or few spectra and they are integral part of your result and discussion or methodology, you don't need a separate supporting information. So similarly, previously even many journals, they used to publish paper as it is, assuming that whatever you are submitting is true. Even in old paper, you will see there is no supporting information in many cases. But then this plagiarism issue happened. People tried to use copy pasted data, and this new process started. Nowadays, if you want to publish in a good journal like ACS, not only the spectra, you have to submit original files which have been generated from instrument. Okay, but definitely as per your question, we can include some spectra, and if there is a page limit, it's sufficient. We don't need any supporting information.
Thank you, sir.
There is one last question by Krishna. He's asking that can we mention more than one graphical abstract in single review?
Yeah, graphical abstract, it should be one, that's very important. But if you want to combine 2-3 ideas together, then you can put 2-3 images or 2-3 photos together, but it should be one. So it's like abstract for your overall review. Even I am not the good person to comment on it. It is a good question for those who are included in like editorial body and so on. But as far as I have seen most of the review articles, they are having just like a single graphical abstract. They may be having different images combining together in one image. That is possible, but not like multiple graphical abstract.
Okay, so right now we do not have any more questions. So students, any one of you, do you want to ask any questions to sir? You can speak out also. So in that case, we don't have any questions, sir. We would like to thank you. I
Thank
guess
you.
students have got quite a good overview about what do you mean by writing a research paper and what are the things that you need to keep in mind while writing a paper. I guess that will help them to also write the abstract which they are intending to do as a part of the assignment. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for the session. And hope to wish, we at HBCSE wish that we can have a session once again in the near future.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you very much for inviting for this online platform. And definitely, as you said, I will be happy even next time to contribute for actual research intern. Like I can accommodate 2 research interns in my group next year. And whenever there is any possibility to do something for a Hoki Baba Research Center for Science Educational Research, I will be happy to do that. Because this is one of the platform where not only we are connected with the students from one region, but throughout the India. That's very good. And even the curriculum, what you have developed, it's excellent. I have seen like few of the titles of the previous talks and presentation. It's excellent. So the content wise, as well as overall arrangement of program is really nice. So we are also having Jigyasa program in CSIR, but we are working on like some multiple ideas. But most of the programs are not limited to undergraduates. We have internship, but this is a unique program. So I'm very happy to be part of it. Thank you very much. And I'm also thankful to the head as well as head of the department for inviting me. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay, thank you, sir. Meet you again. Okay. So we come back, students, again at around 4:20 to 4:25. Please don't be late for our next session. Okay, so we can leave now. Thank you all.